Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I am your humble host, Mr. David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers, and I greet you with the love and the honor of the infinite creator. And I do continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many, many blessings that are in the universe. So, welcome, and I hope you're doing all right this morning. It is February the 1st at 12:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Oh, all of a sudden my chat came in. Hey, Chloe, Susie Q. Oh, there it is. For some reason, I got a lag or whatever. Hero Roozy Roo. Hi, Barry. How are you? Um, hey, Joe. How are you? There's more in the chat that says that it shows up in the numbers over here, by the way, just as a hey, Witch Moon, how are you? You're the one with the back issues, right? Witch Moon? Or one of the folks? Am I right? But anyway, he called me today and I was in the middle of something and I couldn't call him back and I couldn't chat. So, yes, it's you. Okay. Um, anyway, we should have a separate chat or something just about back issues and lumbars and things without it being part of an a different video. But anyway, um, this particular topic for tonight has been being tossed around um, by my spirit guide folks, in and one of the things there are times when I can't figure out, like they'll give me a topic, but not necessarily the title to a show. Well, we want you to talk about this. Yeah, okay. Witch Moon, hi Susie, hey Chloe, um, and Joe up there further up. Okay, I think I said hi to everybody. If I missed somebody, howdy. So anyway, in this world of stuff, I remember years ago, it's been now, that I was doing videos about speaking in the positive, and making sure that how you're speaking and what you're speaking, if you're, inclined or interested, is to make sure that if you positive speaking, yeah, Joe, at the University of um, it's in Carrollton, Georgia. A friend of mine of like almost 50 years. Actually, it would be about 50 years that I've known him. And they started a class and it's actually now you can get a degree in it. And basically it's positive speaking in the positive speaking. That's not what the name of the thing is, but so my friend Charles, he was one of the folks who instigated uh, the curriculum, if you will. So, and after all these years, a year or so ago, he was down here or maybe 2 years ago, down here in Georgia because he was at a class reunion up there in Carrollton about this. And we had conversation, and I said, I said, that's interesting. I said, because I just got done doing a class of sorts like I'm doing now, and speaking in the positive. And if you go back through some of my videos a couple of years now, they'll be speaking in the positive. I was discussing this way back when. And so since then, I've noticed my own speech pattern because I try to pay attention. Now there's folks out there that just do not care about what or how they say it. All right. Which is a shame because with just a little bit of training and with just a little bit of um, um, reinforcement and a little bit of change in attitude, that they too can speak at least more in the positive than the way what they do now. What time is it? It's 12:20. It's time for a 20. Okay, I've been saving this. So we can speak in the positive, and by listening to what the hell we say, we don't just blurt it out without listening to what we say. Most folks don't listen to what they say. They just conversation and out it goes. You should stop it and pay attention to what's coming out your mouth because I was one of the worst at it when I was younger. My mouth always got me in trouble. And let me tell you, so it's been a lifelong lesson on how not to just shoot your mouth off. There are times when it's appropriate to shoot your mouth off. And then there are times when you need to just bite your lip and just not say nothing. So now, first of all, before going into the positive communication, you was a motor mouth. Yeah, I still am. But at least I can be careful with what I say, and I am aware of the situation around me, like certain topics that you just don't discuss around some folks. You just don't discuss it. It's going to get you in trouble. It's going to create issues. So keep your damn mouth shut. Don't talk about it. So, but here's the thing. So I'm going to start off with the first words in the title of this program, which is communication. So, what is communication? It's speaking to somebody. Now, me and Duggar communicate. Um, and sometimes it's my speech, and he and I have learned how to communicate with his paw and with certain things, and he uses his eyes and he uses his head. If he wants to get up on the couch, he'll look at me and then he'll turn his head and he'll look back. That's communicating. That's conversation. That's his telling me, hey, Hawkeye, I want to get up on the couch. Can I? And he'll look, and then he'll glance over a half a glance without turning his head, like, "Are you looking at me?" And then I'll go, and sometimes I'll make him wait, like hesitate 2 beats, like 1, 2, okay, and he's up on the couch. And then there's sometimes I'm like, no, but sometimes I make him come over, and so that there are the words come here, but there's also the fact that I'm gesturing to him to here, and I do this when I'm sitting here in the chair, like 2 hands with my fingers, like come here, I want to hug. So this is my come here, I want to hug kind of gesture. So, and he'll like put his head down and he'll wag his tail and he'll come over and he'll saunter in and he'll give me a hug. So but these different gestures are absolutely communication. His looking at me and then looking at the thing and then looking back at me and then looking and doing the that's communication. Those are communication skills that the dog has learned. Okay, I didn't teach him to use his eyes. I didn't teach him to give the glance and look over and then look back. um Most of the time he jumps up and down on the couch whenever the hell he wants to, but those times when he chooses to ask my permission if he can get up on the couch. Okay. So, but it's communication nonetheless, nonverbal, but it's clear, you know. And so there are other things. I've taught him how to use his paw about, that he wants something. Are you hungry? Blah, 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 blah. Hey, Barry, rough, 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 right back at you, brother. So, but these are communication skills. And some people just kind of brush it aside as well. The dog just let he, this is their, the dog lets me know when they got to go outside. But the dog lets me know when they need to go outside. So that means communication skills on both parts. It's number one, the dog is letting you know that they need to go outside. And if they're scratching at the door, it'll like, I got to go bad, rough, 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 right, Barry? Or whatever it is, it's the cats or the cat. One cat will get over here in the window in the evening time and will just go crazy until I give them food, until I give them supper, you know. And let's all say hi to Bob. I haven't said hi to Bob in a while, and boy, is the screen glitching here. So it's 12:25 a.m. on 2/1/2023. I hope you all are doing well. I really, really, really do hope you all are doing well. Um, for some reason, it just seems like it's going to be a wild and crazy year. Just y'all get in your inner tubes and hang on. For those of you who've been with me for a while, you understand what that means. Witch Moon says, dogs know things too. My dog knows I'm going somewhere before I even make the movements. Yep. Now, I've got this thing. They're very intuitive, which is, I didn't put it in the title, but is another level of communication. It's the psychic level of communication. He'll be up there on the couch. And now it's not any particular time of day, but it's usually in the afternoons, 1 o'clock ish. Um, that I'm not, I know that I'm, depending on the weather, um, that I want to go up to the driveway and check the mail, right? So I'm barefoot a lot of the times or in my socks around the house. And so if I'm going outside in socks or barefoot, he looks and goes, okay, we're just going outside. I got to go outside to pee. I'm gonna whatever, gonna go outside and check the temperature. But I'm not going up the driveway. Okay. Maybe I'll have something in the truck and I just, take a few steps and I'm back in the house. Something or to get wood. But I'm sitting here in the chair and he'll be dead asleep. His head will be down, won't be looking at me, and I'll reach over and grab one shoe and go to put it on. And I'll be quiet. I won't make a noise. I'll look over there to see if he's like paying attention. He'd be snoozing out. And I have yet to get the shoe on all the way before he's up and grabs one of his toys because he knows I'm putting on shoes and we're going to go for a walk. We're not just, you know. So I've got my shoes that are more, they're my walking shoes kind of thing. And then I got a pair of slippers. So he jumped down the other day and I was like, nope, my feet are cold. These are just my slippers. Get back up there. We ain't going nowhere. But how he knows that I am putting on my slippers or because my feet are down here and he's up over there and they're right now there are pillows in the way, so he wouldn't know if I was going to put my shoes on or not. But he knows. He knows. I have tried every, 2 or 3 times in a day, earlier or later, we're going to go outside for something, whatever. He knows when I'm putting on shoes. So there's that communication. So I've always, and there's the body language, you know, a dog will know when you're pissed, or cats maybe, but dogs more, are more aware of certain things. So you can scrunch up your face and change your voice, and they're like, "Ooh, he's pissed off," or "She's pissed off," or So there are those things that all you got to do, for those folks that had a teacher that all she had to do was just look at you, and that I'm in deep doo. Oops, there goes Duggar. Speaking of which, and he's looking up the driveway and out in the yard, and he had his head down. So he heard something or one of the other things too. Now, for dogs, he'll lift his head and you can see his little nose working. It's just a tweaking. So there are times, yeah, I got a bunch of cats out there in the yard. They're my yard cats. I used to have cats in the house, but not anymore. They stay outside. But I love them and scratch them and feed them and all that. And I've got one now that's the only one left from last year's batches of kitties. All the other ones disappeared. For whatever reason, they disappeared. And, I've got enough cats. I had 12 of them at one time, and they just started disappearing. Um, and I love them, but, springtime is coming. I'm going to have more little kittens around. And every year I just look up and go, please, Jesus, thin them out. Take these little kittens. There are snakes around here. There are possums and things. Let them eat the little ones. Whoever survives, I know it sounds mean, but I've already got too many. It's costing me $50 a month almost to feed these these critters. And with Duggar and the cats, you know, it takes a bag of food and plus canned stuff and other things too. So, but anyway, they're expensive at the moment, to feed the little buggers. And I didn't invite them here. They just kind of were born and have lived here ever since. But anyway, but they will communicate to me. So I've got the little black and white when he's cute as he can be. And so now I can pick him up and pet him. So the others, you can pet them while they're on the ground and for a couple of seconds, but then they want to be left alone. So you can't pick them up. Only this new one here, the latest one, it's almost a year old now, that I'm training to get picked up, is old, really old, almost as old as I am, but she's still walking around. Yep. But so anyway, so with communication, so the dog communicates with me with his eyes, his head movements, his body stuff. And so when we're down in the woods now, what I'm trying to teach him is like, you know, by pointing. So he doesn't bark much in the woods, right? So, which is good. And he doesn't really make a lot of noise, but if he's running hard through the woods, you can hear him running. Okay. So, but I want him to be able to pay attention to me. And so to learn how to come this way or I'm going over here with hand signs, communication skills. So now with people, and talking about Native Americans and so forth over the years, they didn't speak much to each other verbally. They spoke with their hands and with, you know, gestures. Well, their hands, but body gestures, their body language. I mean, and also, you know, if someone came into their camp and their feathers were sticking straight up, then that meant that they were, their hackles were up. They were fully aware. If the feathers were down and across their shoulders or down their, the back of their head or whatever, then that meant that they were relaxed. And so that they were comfortable and friendly and all that. Now, if somebody had a feather that was sticking up, didn't mean that they weren't friendly. It meant that they were aware of the situation and that so he could let his hair down, put his feather down or whatever, after the fact, but anyway. So in different kinds of feathers with different kinds of colors. Different colors meant different things to different tribes and to the people. So you communicated things in ways that were like said a whole bunch about you. Like if you had wampum, for example, with the native tribes. So if you had a lot of wampum, a lot of shells, or you had a great, in these days it would be bling. So if you're wearing a bunch of bling, somebody's going to go, wow, that person is important. Now, nowadays, people just get bling because they think they're important. They may not be important, but, and some of the stories and legends and things that we have discussed over the years, some of these kings and some of these chiefs and so forth, they were kind of full of themselves, but they had a lot of wampum. And so, were they important because they said so, or because they had wampum belts, or the jewelry to show it off, or were they really important? And that these the bling to the native folks meant status, that these were really important people, and that their wampum or whatever communicated to other people their absolute status. It was sort of like if you were in the armed services and somebody sees, one stripe, you're a private, two stripes, you're a corporal, three stripes or a sarge, I think. And so, but and if you got a bar underneath that, and you get that, then you're a master sergeant. And then if you got bars on your shoulder, you're a lieutenant or a captain or a, you know what I mean? So, but that's all communication. And there are a lot of words. If somebody's got a purple heart, for example, whatever war they've been in, and you can kind of tell by their age, if it's the Civil War, like Barry, Barry was in the Civil War. Uh, I'm sorry, buddy, if he's still awake out there. But I'm teasing him. I recently met a Native American that said he was a seer. Cool beans. I don't mean to take away from that, Chloe, but one of the things that a, a friend of mine who was here earlier this evening, we were discussing a similar thing, and it was like, everyone has the potential to see. Everyone has the opportunity. Ask me about what? That he was a seer? Oh, in general, I'm I have seen things and I've talked about things in my lifetime. Here's communication. So the communication is with the spirit world, okay? The communication is with the universe. Now you hear me talking all the time about accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the benefits and gifts from the universe. And watching a thing, and I've known about this for a long time, but there was watching something about Tesla. And Tesla, you know, with all of his inventions and things, he kept a pad of paper beside his bed and he would have these dreams, visions, bright light, and he would wake up and write these things down. And there's still secrets that, those folks collected of Teslas. But we're using a lot of Tesla stuff now. I mean, the AC that's driving that light bulb right there is a Tesla invention. The South will rise again. We kind of sort of already have, in a way. For example, Atlanta in the state of Georgia now is the new Hollywood. There are more movies and stuff going on in the state of Georgia right now and around Atlanta and everything and stuff. It's amazing. It's like Hollywood said, "Screw you" to the Pacific, and now they're here in Georgia. A lot of TV shows and a lot of movies. If you look at the end, filmed in Georgia. It's like what, the Peach State? Yep, they'll have a little Peach State and Georgia under it at the end of the credits. But anyway, so seers, everyone has the potential. Everyone has the potential to be a seer because of our brain activity. It's electrical. The universe is open to everybody, you know. And the last video I think I did about learning to listen, learning to hear the quiet, the quiet silence. That's really important if you're interested in that sort of thing and you want to hear the universe. You have to be, first you got to be quiet, and then you got to really be silent to hear it and allow it. You have to allow it to come in. There are people who say, well, that's a crazy idea, and they push it from their mind. Well, then there are some people, The Walking Dead is one of them, Witch Moon. Yep. Um, but there's been a couple of times that I would have swore I knew where they were filming because I used to go in North Georgia all the time and go through the small towns and everything up there. But anyway, um, so but with this thing about communicating with the universe. So and my spirit guides seem to be hanging around tonight for some reason, which is okay, gang. You know, um, because they kind of pushed me into having this conversation. But in that the communication and how we communicate with the universe. I mean, how you communicate with your animals if you got them, how you communicate with, if you have plants, if you garden, how you communicate with the garden. My father-in-law, my first father-in-law, he was in his 90s when he passed away. The last few years of his life was not pretty. He just couldn't get around, and um, that's a good one, Joe. I like that one. That was, the old joke back in the day. Say, yeah, my daddy was a pilot. He used to pilot here, and he used to pilot there, and he used to pilot over there. Yeah, my daddy was a pilot. You know. Anyway. And I had an uncle that was a master baiter. He worked on a boat, and he was always baiting hooks. And after about 5 years, they made him the master baiter. Yeah, there's that one too. But anyway, but communication. So and I was when um Robert and I were talking this evening. I was like, back in the day when they told these stories and legends and everything, they were sitting around a campfire, and when they were talking about the story, they said, and the brave married the star maiden. And when she came back, and he and the boy, and they went back up into the heavens, and you could point to the constellations and go, there's the big bear, and there's Ursa Major, and there's Ursa Minor, and there's the hunter, and there's the this, and so that you could actually point it out to people. It wasn't just a story about they went up into the heavens. They were sitting around a campfire and pointed at them. See? So then the story really made sense, because there were stars that represented these beings who had been on the earth. One of them came from the stars. So there's that star being connection again. or still, if you will. But so the communication, so you communicate with the stars, you communicate with the universe. Well, how do you communicate? Well, you learn how to be still, be quiet, and learn how to be silent, you know. And then you have to, like I, in that last video I did with all the feathers that I found, I told my friend the other day, I said, I said, if I'd have just, big pine tree, I said, if I'd have went to the right of that pine tree like I was headed, I would have missed the feathers entirely. And so, but my intuition, my silence said, "Psst, go this way." Okay, I'm just kind of meandering in the woods anywhere, right? In the woods anyway. But to the point though, so there are things in our life, our intuitions or something inside of us speaks to us in some way. Sometimes there's a song that comes to mind or heart. Uh, how you communicate with self. That's true too, Witch Moon. Has anyone here watched Avatar, the movie with the blue? No, not yet. Not the new one. I saw the original one. And there are blue um, beings out there, by the way. Um, have any of you watched Farscape, which is an old series, but and the blue lady in that, who is actually a plant? Yeah, she's actually a plant. The blue lady on Farscape. So now communication. So now there's communication where, I've talked about this before, and I'm sorry if I bring it up again, but when I was working at Prestolite, and at my job as an engineer was to go around and speak to all these people all over the both plants. There were two plants, and all these machines, and they were running three shifts, 24/5 at least, and sometimes 6 days a week, but lots of machines that were running clickety 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 clickety. I mean, about that fast. Do 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 do, and stuff happens, stuff breaks. And so, but there were folks when I first started going out on the floor, when my duties included that. I quickly learned that my communication skills sucked. And so, and I have spoke about this before, but at the time that I was going through this, I was also in the pre stages of learning how to be a shaman. I didn't know that's what was going on, but I had asked the spirits to show me how to be a better person, show me Indian ways, and help me in that way. And I had a spirit being that showed up, God, a bunch of times, and she was dressed in white buckskin, and she sat in the truck with me and had full blown conversations with me. I mean, I'd look over there and go, I can't believe nobody's ever going to believe this. But she conversed with me, and I question answer sessions, and for a good year, at least, for a good year, this went on. So it wasn't just haphazard or once or twice, but yeah, you remember my speaking about her? Yeah. White dove of the Cherokee Nation. And so, but her wisdom and intuition, and there were times during the day when I'd be speaking to somebody or something, and she would literally kind of be speaking over my shoulder, going, Dave, change your words, you know, but just or say it differently. And I'd be in the process of trying to explain something and I'd catch myself and I'd go, just a minute, let me think about this. So, how are you today? And you had any problems or whatever? And while I kind of turned the subject around to the people in the different cells, it gave me an opportunity to think about what I needed to say in a different way. So I found different ways because every different cell that you went into, there were Mexican people, there were black people, there were white people, there were young people, old people, there were mixed races there, and some of the cells had all black people in them, all black ladies, and some of them had white. It wasn't any particular thing; was just how they got hired, and sometimes they switched between the different cells. So, but to the point though, for every place that I went, there were different personalities of the groups within that cell. So I had to learn those personalities. So as I went to the different cells, and I mean literally 10 feet away was a whole different group of folk. And that group of folk had their own way of dealing with stuff and how they spoke, how they joked around with one another. And so you had to learn that. So that was one of the things that White Dog taught me. She goes, you got to listen before you speak. If you want to speak, you have to listen first. So it was always, hi, how y'all doing today? You know, in whatever manner each of the cells, right? So most of the time, we had, hey, ladies, how y'all doing? So I gave them politeness in that, hi, ladies, called them all ladies, how y'all doing? So versus I'm the man, I come in here. First, I acknowledge that you're all are ladies, not women or co-workers or, kind of established. So, in my southernly, gentlemanly way, hi, ladies, how are you? But I meant it. Here's the thing. And so, when I was discussing with somebody earlier today, I said, you can speak in the positive, but if your body language is something else, they're going to pick that mess up. They're going to know that you're faking. You have to feel it, right? So when I walked in the different cell, I meant it. Hi, ladies, how y'all doing today? I really was concerned with how they all doing. It was my job to find out if things are running smooth, of how the machines. So I want to find out how they're doing. And the machines. Hi, ladies. How you doing? But now, how are the machines doing? You know, have any problems today? Communication. So on many different levels, and friends from one group to the another, but each cell was different. So in your communication, you have to understand that not everybody's the same. Even though they might be sitting in the same room, they ain't the same. Well, we all came here to a class, so you can speak to the whole group. But if you don't speak to the whole group on different levels, then you're not really speaking to them, you're speaking at them. Part of learning conversation skills is realizing that some people would not want to hear what you have to say. That's true. Choosing the subject or etc. A polite phrasing of pearls before swine. Yep. But so, um, if you're standing around with some people and you might bring up farming practices in China or terracing or something, and they go, "What the are you talking about?" And why are you talking about it? Well, it's an interesting subject. I thought I would just break the ice with terrace farming in China. Okay, we'll just leave it there. Which is, well, that's a good way to break the ice, in a conversation. Just bring up something, just, and I have done that before. And people look at you and go, what the hell? And I look at them and go, what y'all talking about? you know, Not that I was talking about, um, terraces in China. Um, but so now speaking in the positive, so now that we've kind of covered the idea that communication is more than just words, just how we speak. It's how we look with our eyes. It's how we communicate with our body. I mean, that was one thing that I noticed that if I, walked into one of these groups with the ladies and I had a scowl on my face or something was really bothering me and I was rubbing my forehead and I'm thinking about a problem and I walk over there down and that's negative. You're going into, around some people and they're and you're going in with a worried look on your face. So what does that convey to these people? What's wrong, Mr. Dave? Well, I was just, the ladies over in C cell, they got an issue and damn it, I thought I had that fixed. And but they read you before you ever get there and say a word. For whatever facial experience you got, for whatever, hand, if you got you're rubbing your beard all the time or going like this, it implicates certain things. Well, he's thinking about something because he's going like this, or either that or his face itches. I got fleas. I haven't had my collar changed in a while. But so body language, in the well, it ain't just male, female. It's in the alluring business of sexuality. I have met men and women who just had sex appeal. I mean, they were just sexy people, you know, and how they sat and how they crossed their legs and how they and their mannerisms, not that they were gay or straight or anything, just their mannerisms were graceful and elegant in ways, and it was just they weren't putting on airs, it was just the way they were. And so you say, well, and I have met spiritual people who were the same way. There's still this one guy at a powwow several years ago down the road from here. We just passed by each other. And I still remember the look on his face. I remember his smile. I remember his countenance, his aura. No, it was like, there goes a spiritual dude. There goes a really spiritual dude. And we smiled at each other. And there was so much said, even after all these years, 5 or 6 years now, I can still remember the incident where I met a lot of people over the years, but nobody, and we never spoke. So these communication skills go to that higher level. Who was it, Chloe? You asked earlier. Oh, I missed part of the conversation. We are the star people. Part of learning conversation. Let's see. About 10 years ago, I had no conversation. Still then, I've learned more and more. Yep. So, speaking in the positive, um, first you have to realize that you may be speaking in the negative by your choice of words. And so, I've used this example, but it's like, so Mama tells Johnny, okay, any Johnnies in the audience tonight? Mama tells Johnny, I want you to go to this store and get a loaf of bread. Johnny says, okay, Mama. Don't forget your helmet. Yes, Mother. Don't forget to stop at the stop signs. Don't run out in the middle of traffic. Remember to watch out for strange people and don't get in anybody's cars. So, all right. So she wants, she's trying to be positive to her child, but everything that child is hearing is don't forget to wear. Yeah, but she's warning him. So she should choose words like remember to wear your helmet. Okay. Remember to stop at the stop signs. Remember not to just pull out into traffic. So you change a word or two, and it changes all of these negative words, don't, don't, to remember to put your helmet on, you know? So, and people say, well, what difference does it make? Well, if you don't give a shit about how you speak and about how people think of you, well, I wouldn't go there if I were you. I've heard stories about that place, and it's always this. And so you're trying to be nice to somebody, and they want to go, well, that movie I heard sucked. Did you see it yourself? No. But they say it was bad, so, but, well, my friend just asked me about a movie. I was just telling him, yeah, it was ugly and nasty and mean and brutal and don't and you shouldn't and you can't and you're using all these words that are negative words. You're speaking in the negative. Are you talking about nuance? Yes, that too, Joe. Yes, that too. But there sometimes in trying to be positive with people, we say, we shouldn't think like that. We should, those people that think like that are bad people, or those, and anybody that thinks like that is, like, I used to be a Democrat, and I'm not anymore. I'm not sure I'm a Republican, but, you used to think like that. What changed your mind? Who are you now? And that you voted for Trump? Yeah, I did, you know, twice actually. But am I one of those MAGA folks? Well, why wouldn't I want to make America great again? Sorry, but that's not really necessarily a bad thing, y'all. So, but oh my God, Dave, what's wrong with you? You were a Democrat along with us. And yeah, well, I didn't change. My feelings and my convictions are still pretty much the same. It's y'all who've changed. Your wording has changed. Their wording is always in the negative. You know, the you know, I have an air gun over there because the states took away my rights to own a shotgun at least, living down here in the woods, or a rifle for hunting, because I was caught with marijuana. Because I was caught with marijuana, I am a felon, okay? And because I'm a felon, I'm not allowed to own a firearm. Now, I wasn't trying to kill anyone. I was just trying to have me some fun. Well done. Hot dog bun. That John Prine song. But anyway, so in this life of stuff, how we communicate things. So, um, it took a long time for me to after I got arrested and convicted with the helicopter incident and everything. There were folks who wouldn't even speak to me for years. I worked in the theater before I got busted. Okay, I got busted. They didn't even want me to come in the door. I'd sign up for bit parts and shows. They, I mean, it might be a two-liner or somebody that just comes to the door. No, they would not have me in any way, shape, or form. I couldn't do puppet shows anywhere because I had been convicted and marijuana but I never talked about drugs. In fact, Cool Dude, one of the puppets, was always about trying to teach people the difference between drugs and medicines. As if you've got asthma and you got to take your medicine, and your asthma medicine is a drug, but it's not the same thing as drugs on the street. So, I used to do these puppet shows about teaching kids the difference between medicines and, and drugs. So, and using the puppets to convey the message. And here I am, an ex drug dealer and, pothead and convicted felon and with a year of prison under my belt. But I'm trying to make a better world, and y'all don't do like I did, you know? Make better choices, communicate to them. There are better choices out there, right? But anyway, society and the older folks, they made choices without saying a word to me. And it took a bunch of years for me of just, steady. I'll do this for free. Here, let me do a puppet show for you. Here, if and then somebody saying, "Hey, I saw Mr. Dave do a puppet show the other day, and we ought to have him come to our school or something." But it took a long time for that to happen. It's because of conversation and persistence and communication skills. So people saw me in the community, even though they didn't, he's the guy that got busted. Yeah, but he's not some hang out in the alley junkie freak. You got busted for growing a little bit of pot. Well, you're the guy that got busted. Yep. I did a play one time, and in fact, it was oh god, Anne Frank, The Diary of Anne Frank. So doing the Diary of Van Frank, and I played the character that stole food. I can't remember his name, but I was the character that stole food. And I wore a big fatty thingy that I wore in the beginning of the show. And then I took it off at halftime and then came out as really, my more skinny self. But the main actress in the show, they're Jewish, number one. But the main actress, her father is a judge, Judge Harry. And so he knew that I'd been busted because I had had a conversation with him about around the time I got busted. What the hell do I do? And he was like, I can't talk to you about this. I'm a circuit court judge. I cannot talk to you about this. And I was like, should I plead guilty? Should I not plead? What do I do? Dave, I cannot talk to you about this. I am a circuit court judge. Thank you. Thank you, Harry. So now, after the play is over and we all go out afterwards, there's not a cast party per se, but we all go down to Applebee's, right? So sitting around at Applebee's, and at the time I had not gotten my retirement checks yet, and I was pretty poor. And he was like, don't worry about it. Order whatever you want. I'll pay for it. Now, me and Judge Harry have not had any conversation, right? I'm the felon in the group. And everybody knows I've been busted, but I'm still hanging in there. I'm still trying to show that, okay, I got busted for weed. So what? I'm still Dave, I'm still Mr. Dave. I'm still the Hawkeye, nothing's changed really. But here's the judge buys me pie, whatever I want, and we're having coffee and laughing and joking around. And he says, listen, I made a mixed CD for you. And I went, what? And he looks around Applebee's like this, and all the other actors and everybody, they're all chatting about stuff. And he kind of leans over and he takes this CD out of his pocket and he slides it over across the table to me and he winks. And he said, I just thought that you'd like some of the music that I listen to. And I went, okay. And that was that, right? So we get done with our little cast party thing and we go on our merry way and the play is over. And I haven't seen Judge Harry since. I don't even know if he's still alive. But anyway, so I get home and I plug in this CD. And oh my God, he's got some of the wildest shit on this CD. I'm like, Judge Harry, you're listening to um uh uh oh man, brown shoes don't make it, quit school, why fake it, TV dinner by the pool, you know. um oh, I can't think of his name now. He's uh Frank Zappa. He's got Frank Zappa tunes on this CD, which you listen to Frank Zappa. You're a circuit court judge down here in the South, and you're listening to Frank Zappa? Oh my God. I was like, every time I pull out the CD and I listen to it, I just laugh my ass off because you never know. You never know. So here's Judge Harry. He's a judge. He's got to be conservative. He's a full-fledged Jew. Nothing wrong with that. So he's got to be, because he's a judge, he has to be upstanding in the Jewish community. And here he is listening to Frank Zappa. I mean, just I'm still, after all these years, I'm still blown away. So you never know. And so he never came up. He might be even smoked pot on the side. I'm just saying. And so him knowing, because I spoke to him about it, um, knowing that I'd been busted for growing weed, um, it was his way of saying, I know who you are and I'm cool with it. Even though I can't admit it, we can't talk about it. Maybe if we was someplace else, I'd smoke a joint with you, because the kind of stuff that was on this, I was like, Judge Harry, you got to be a freaking stoner. There's no way, because the even and there are a song or two that I thought, I wonder if he ever did shrooms. Has any of you seen Jeff Dunham, the ventriloquist? Yeah. And he's really good at what he does too, Joe. As one puppeteer to another, I really like him. And I like he's got a YouTube channel and he puts out these little blurbs with the different puppets. And I like his way of thinking. I like the way that he can do a little blurb and put it on a YouTube and like not expecting money kind of thing, even though he is a performer and that he just sticks it out there. Now, he might get so many hits and might get money from it, but he's doing it because he wants to. He one of his recents was a little short with Ahmed. You know, he just has a. I used to have the same kind of things when I did the puppets. I just didn't have YouTube back then. And it was all about, I just had to get out one of the puppets because I had this little thing in my head that just wouldn't come out. So I'd, get one of the puppets out and do this little skit or whatever. And the next time I did a puppet show somewhere, I might include that little blurb of something in there. So, but no, I really appreciate him. But anyway, so communication skills. So, and speaking of puppets was a great way to communicate things back in the medieval times. I mean, the Banraku puppetry in China and over in Indonesia and like that, they're great big giant uh big puppets, and you can see the puppeteers, and they're working them and they're walking along and they're big puppets. And they also have them that they're paper, they're made out of paper. And so the whole thing is a shadow puppet theater. But these things are extravagant, and they've got 10 people, 15 people working different puppets, and the sheer having done shadow puppetry and stuff like that, it looks easy, but it ain't. It's difficult. And the way some of these old traditionalists, so one of the first puppets was a shadow puppet. And you say, well, Dave, how can you say that? Hey, Scratch, how are you? And it was this: they're all sitting around a campfire. Now, you got to take yourself back to caveman. So, caveman and cave woman was sitting around the fire. And, as the fire is flickering, they see their shadows on the wall. So, one of the first puppets was this: being able to show this, your hands flying and putting two hands together and making an elephant. I mean, hand puppetry, shadow puppetry, it takes a lot of practice, but it's cool. But it's also there's a definite skill involved. So the first storytelling included sitting in a cave or around, or backed up against the cave wall or something, and shadows. So look at what your shadow does. And so the stories came out in that way, that they could create shadows. And so the Chinese, for thousands of years, have been telling stories um, using, paper as their method of telling the story. And some of the stories are very intricate. I mean, they shoot arrows across, and there are wars and horses, and I mean, and it takes several people uh, to operate these. Hey, Miss Pearl. So there are many, many different ways of telling stories, and again, it's communication. So, and back in the Middle Ages, with uh, many of you may remember Punch and Judy, or who the hell were they? Well, they were two puppet characters. But here's the thing: they could talk about the Duke of Earl, Duke, 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 Duke of Earl, 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 Duke of Earl. I'm sorry, got off on a. But the Duke and the King and whoever, and get away with it. Where if they were to come out from behind the puppet thing and not be punching Judy, and said the same things, the king would have him beheaded. So puppets and that kind of storytelling could be told normally, normally, with if people thought, well, oh, those two puppets are, talking about the king, and so tongue in cheek. Well, you can't blame the puppets. No, but what about the people behind them making doing the puppets? You know, but in all the research of stuff I've done over the years, I never heard of any puppeteers being executed for being a puppeteer or what the puppets said. They might have got warned later on. Hey, y'all better be careful about what you said. But just between you and me, that was funny as hell. Talk about the king that way. You're right. So, but they couldn't. Oh, so puppets and storytelling in that way became a way to kind of be the other side of, well, we can talk about the king a little bit and get a little bit by with it, you know, um, you know. So, but anyway, but communication skills. So After all these centuries and thousands of years, there are pictures on cave walls. There are, hieroglyphs. There are all kinds of drawings and things in places and on stuff, you know. Why is it there? To communicate a story, to communicate something to us, right? Oh, we're coming up on a 20. I can only think of Reagan. Which Reagan? Ronnie Reagan? Scratch? Uh, oh, it is. It's 120, right? Is that right? Yep. Time for a 20 break. Golly, that hour went by quick. But so anyway, so with communication, there's facial expressions. There are um, mimes that pretend they're in a box or pretend something, or they mimic something. They tell a story without saying a word. I was in a play one time where my character never said a word. And when it was my time to take a bow, I got a standing ovation. And people were like, I can't believe you did this whole. They were like, you never said a word. And I was like, yeah. And they said, we were always watching to see what you would do next. And I was like, but why were you watching me? I was a very minor character with all these other people on stage. And what the hell were you watching me for? Because you were doing these facial expressions, you were reacting to what was going on, and we didn't know what you was going to do next. And I talked to a bunch of folks that I knew and other folks, and I was like, why in the hell were you watching me during the show? And they said, because you never said a word. And I went, what? You never said a word through the whole play. Well, yeah, that was my character. I had had shell shock and I didn't speak. And so through the everything had to be relayed with gestures and facial expressions and waves and this and that because I was the sound effects guy at a radio station. So I was doing all the sound effects, but I never said a word. So in this quandary of characters, if you will, I found out later on all these folks that were like watching me to like, what's he going to do next and what's he going to come up with, and and I was busy all the time because there was a lot of stuff that had to be done during the show. It was a play about a live radio performance, so it was a live performance during the play, if you will. So, but anyway, and a funny as hell play. And it was all country western songs. So that was fun too. But Pearl says, I went to my local food pantry today and got home to find $70 prime rib and a $50 lamb chops and a huge ham. Oh man. Fruits, mango, pomegranate, grapefruits, lemons, bananas. Oh my. Did they send any munchkins along? I'm kidding. Follow the yellow brick road. Fruits and mango and pomegranates. My, oh my. Anyway, never mind. Never mind. I'm being silly. It's my 20. Oh, hush, girl. You make me hungry. My neighbors brought me a plate yesterday afternoon, late. I was out planting my two fruit trees in the yard. Oh, and I'm paying for it today, too. But I had to cut a couple of other trees down to put the trees where I wanted them. So it wasn't just planting two trees, it was a lot of other work too. So I was very sore and hard to walk today, harder than normal. But anyway, but he brought me lunch yesterday, my supper yesterday, which I was really proud of. But anyway, it was nothing like all of that. But when somebody brings you turkey dressing and stuff, it was like a um, sort of like a mini Thanksgiving, with turkey and dressing and all the fixings, uh, and sweet taters and anyway. So you know, thank you, Miss Sheila. Chloe, I think it's you that was asking me if my neighbors were treating me right, and it's like, yep, Miss Sheila, that and they're always bringing me a plate, um, when least expected, and it's very gracious. So, but anyway, communication. But here's the thing about communication. I mean, for example, gestures. Now we all know what this one means, right? So birds of a feather get flock together. But anyway, so no matter where you go, if you display the middle finger, then that's a universal language. That's an F you, that's up yours, that's this is what I think of you. Oh my God. I don't care whether you're in southern France or you're in Greece or Russia, you're in China, you flip somebody the bird, they know more or less exactly what your intentions are or what, right? So be careful with that, right? So um, the universal language, you know, think about it. If you went up and did it to an Eskimo, they'd smuck you, because they know what it means, even with gloves on, which would hurt even more. And there was a joke that went around many, 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 many years ago. Is like, if this is the bird, what is this? I don't know. What is it? Well, if this is the bird, this is the claw. And it's four times worse than the bird because you're going to have to get all four of them fingers up. Okay, this is the bird and this is the claw. All right. Anyway, it wasn't much of a joke, but that's what it was back then. So now I have met people, and maybe you have too, and this might go to Chloe, but where you meet somebody and you're having conversation and you look at in their eye and you've got this connection. I mean, you there's a connection. You can't explain it, but there's a connection. And I've just met this person, and you people talk about all. I just connected with this person. I don't know what it was. We connected. Okay. So now this connectedness is communication. Now, if you're sitting across the table from somebody having coffee or whatever, there might be a little, if it's for me, I'm thinking if it was a woman and she's looking at me, there might be this attraction, whether it's ugly or pleasant to look at or not. But sometimes there are pheromones that are going on. There is a tangible connection. And I said it earlier, there are some people who, men and women that I've met. I met a gay man who was just sexy as hell. I mean, I was like, If I swung that way, I'd ask you out, because you're sexy as hell, but I just that, and it was just the way he was, he wasn't, there was a certain amount of it that was put on, in that I think there are certain gay men that I've met that seem to think that they have to act a particular way for people to accept them as, well, I'm prim and proper, so I've got to put my hand on my hip and stand a certain way. No, the fuck you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't have to put your hand out like this every time, and you don't have to squeal like a little girl. And no, you don't. Boy, there is a severe lag from here. I got an itch to come to your house and cook for you, Hawkeye. I'd come to your house if I could get there. I, I, like I said, I, I can cook for myself and I can cook pretty well, but I don't do three vegetables every meal and stuff like that. I make a hamburger and get by with that or something, but no, I'd love to have me and my son on the Soul Tribe Highway to see this country in reunion with my Soul Tribe. Heard of has anyone heard of the shocker? It's almost like the bird. The shocker? No. But anything more than one finger would be a shocker, Joe. That's why, this was the claw. Anyway, it was a really bad joke in high school, I think, but with the communication skills, though, so there are people who can communicate with just their hands or feet or wherever, so communication isn't just about with words. But then there are those folks who are very difficult to communicate with. And I wish Michelle were here. I sent her a text, but um, there are people who are difficult to communicate with. And the communication is very subtle. And sometimes um, bird is the word, is the word, is the bird. Yeah. Now you got me sidetracked with that damn bird is the word, is the word, is the bird, is the bird, is the word. Yep, 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 yep. Yeah, okay. Now stop it. I can be easily, sidetracked. Fold your thumb and ring finger in and keep the other fingers up. That's fold your thumb and ring finger in. My ring finger. This is the shocker. She was with us earlier with Robert. So now you're actually awake tonight. How about that? Me too. I wasn't awake earlier, but yesterday planting the tree and everything, and I had several cups, about a pot of coffee, and I've been taking the Mang Da green, and it's supposed to help with mood and alertness and all. And I took some yesterday afternoon, and I shouldn't have taken it as late as I did, and it kind of kept me up. And so this morning I was like watching um, watching rednecks catch catfish on noodles on the uh, float noodles for kids and pools and stuff. And anyway, next thing I knew, it was like 4 o'clock in the morning. I was like, some bitch. Half of the night just watching, these crazy fishermen do these things. So there is communication now on a level that, I'm going to go back to the person that you were sitting with, and that you had this, you connected in some way. Now, I know that there are many of you out there that have connected with me because you've seen my eyes, you've seen my facial expression, and you can hear me as well, right? So, and you could understand my intent and you can kind of sense it, all right? So, but not knowing you or being able to see your faces, I just kind of see it out here in the universe kind of thing, right? Anyway, so there is this extra sensory communication that does go on with us. And it's true because we've proven it to each other over the years that we've been here. So, with that said, see, now that's a different kind of communication. It's nonverbal. Hey, Dominic, how? What? Wait on what? Hi, Dominic, how you doing? So there is this communication that we have, and so the person, you have a lazy eye. Well, tell it to step up. I used to have an eye that twitched all the time. It was so freaking annoying. Oh God. It was all due to stress, but the annoyances is that we have put up with over the years. All of us have had to put up with some kind of annoyance at one point or time, or maybe you're still putting up with it. Who knows? But so anyway, so part of this, I'm hoping that Michelle will come in. But part of this conversation, so in the elders that I have met, and the sitting and working with the medicine man that I worked with, there was a lot of, he would make a statement and look at me and just kind of stare for a moment. And I'd be like, what the F was that? The stare. And he was explaining something to me verbally, but then he was trying to send an impression of it. I don't know why it's doing this, that you gotta. Uh, I'm annoyed by a cock named Dick. Oh, that's why they. Okay. Um, Almost got sidetracked there, Pearl. But so the communication skills that we have is also, if we're trying to impart a message to someone, especially if we choose to speak in the positive. So, I'm trying to explain to somebody, listen, don't follow this person because their messages are wrong, and don't do this because it can get you into trouble, and stay away from this, and don't do that, and so you're not going to reach somebody if you're speaking in these negative with these negative connotations and negative verbiages. And so, even though you're trying to, like, for me, over the years, I've warned people to stay away from magic, stay away from sigils, stay away from. I just, don't do it is a different thing. But to stay away from it is like, well, wait a minute, why? Well, there's a bunch of reasons, but, be careful versus don't. Because you tell somebody don't do something, they're going to want to go do it, right? So, well, that rarely ever happens, Mr. No. Getting sidetracked. Oh yeah, for me, yeah, I never get sidetracked. LOL, right? But anyway, so with this kind of thing though, so that um, I want to be able to speak about negative things in a positive way. Like, be careful about this, and here, let's look at this from a warning standpoint. And you ever thought about it like this or something like that versus don't do this, it's harmful. And I might throw that in the conversation, but there are people that's always don't do this and don't do that, and it's harmful, it's going to kill you, and it, and whoa, it's just the whole message is just negative, just 100%, and just in the vibe and the intent that it's set out there. And some of these folks that I used to listen to, I have trouble listening to now because it literally it hurts my head. I'm like, can you like rephrase some of this stuff? Your message is actually good, but I can't stand to listen to how you're putting the message across. I just like, I'm sorry. I will still give you a thumbs up, but boy, howdy, somebody needs to help you with your communication skills, you know? But see, if I were to say that, then somebody say, well, Dave, you're just being an egotistical bastard. Maybe I am, but I placed seventh in the nation in public speaking. And I won the state award, the gold medal thingy, for extemporaneous speaking for the state of Georgia. So wait a minute, but I've got some credentials to go along with why am I saying things about positive speaking and doing these things? Because I have practiced it for years. I've helped teach other people this. I have taught people, I've directed many shows, and I've taught other people about how to become a public speaker and how to, so where are my credentials? Well, I got a bunch of them if you really want to see them, but at the moment, but so anyway, so who am I to say these things? I'm, you know, 30 years of practice um, might qualify me to be able to say, I think you could do better with your communication skills. There are some public figure type um, folks who are doing YouTube, and I really like watching their shows. But at the same time, whether they know it or not, they're speaking more in the negative, even though they're trying to portray a positive image, which they end up doing, but they're still I don't know if they're aware of the fact that they're speaking more in the negative because of don't and that and just words that they use. And if they just use different words and slightly reworded the sentence a little bit, it would have a better outcome in their speech. And you won't hear don't, can't, won't, shouldn't, but all the time. Just every two or three sentences is a don't, this, you shouldn't, or that. And it's like, and I don't think that these people really understand that their choice of words, have an overall meaning to them. But society speaks this way. Society has a tendency to speak in the negative. Oh, good, you're here. I wanted to get into communication skills with autistic type folk and folks that are just not just autistic, but well, there's Alzheimer too. But yeah, I sent you a text. Society is the herd that follows. Yeah. So, and you hear like, on the View, and you hear these folks talking with these don'ts and can'ts and shouldn'ts and and all of these, and if you become aware of the words, you'll go, oh my God, they really are. And is that really uh learning disorder? Yep. So having worked with some show enough space cadets, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but these poor children and some of the adults were so severely mentally retarded, handicapped, that speech was not there. Holding on to a spoon was like maybe once in a while. Feeding themselves or anything like that, out of the question. And I've worked with some of these folks for several years. Okay. So I've had experience working with severely mentally handicapped people with, some of them were diagnosed with this, cerebral palsy, that, just different disorders. There was a whole cacophony of different types of folks. And yeah, I'll have another one. Sure. I got my pipe here that's just egging and begging. Um, you're one of those kind of. My son is very verbal and musical, autistic kid. He is like a singing rain man. He is my navigation when we go anywhere. Yep. So Michelle, we're gonna put you on the spot, or at least I am. So Nate is nonverbal at all. Um, but the next other thing would be, and you missed the first hour and a half in that there's a lot of communication without any words. And like me and Duggar, he'll look at me and look at the couch and look back at me, and I know he wants to get up there. So, my question about the nonverbal, yeah, he may not speak, but is there any communication, whether it's with the eyes or whether it's with the hands or whether it's like turning away or some kind of body language? Because that is communication. Now, I did play The Miracle Worker a long time ago about Helen Keller. And I worked with a lady who worked with the deaf, dumb, and blind. Deaf, dumb, and blind kid sure plays a mean pinball. So that would be the next other thing, that sometimes autistic children, or we'll kind of just leave it at that, you know, they like to scribble or I'm up in the all the time. You have cerebral palsy. My version primarily affects my motor function. Does it affect your speech, Joe? Just curious because several of the folks that I knew with CP, um, also had a slight speech impediment, slur their words, have a little trouble with their tongue, kind of thing. We got to get one of them talking tablets. I've seen all the black nonverbal autistic kids on Instagram has them, and I was singing for my friends tonight. Cool deal. Because there are some things like there was this one particular person that we worked with. That there was certain music that he liked, and when his um internal thingies, I can't think of it at the moment. Help me out, Michelle, because we talked about it that one day. The different levels, the psychic level thingies, anyway, are different waves during the month. Anyway, I can't think of it. Um, Not psycho waves, something. Anyway, I can't think of the word. Speech too, huh, Joe? Yeah, okay. I'm sorry about that. But anyway, but I've worked with several CP victims over the years, and some of them, just had trouble walking. Some folks, were, stuck in a wheelchair kind of thing. Miss Lisa, that I worked with for years, she was pretty much inclined and reclined in a wheelchair. But she did real well, and she could speak, and she there are some CP folks that have, a bit of mental retardation going on. They're a little slow, and she was slow, but she was witty and could learn, and it might take her two or three times, and she was persistent and wanted to learn, and so, and I worked with her almost 5 years. But and she's a grown woman if she's still living. But anyway, so, having learned from these folks, yes, I learned from these folks, and that their communication skills might be slurred or something, but that they could get their point across, even as an MR, and that's mentally retarded, trying not to be ugly here, handicapped. Okay, I don't know if that's necessarily a better word or not, but mentally handicapped. So, but there are ways to reach these folks. There are ways to explain or to get your point across or to teach them something. And it was the use of all of the above facial expressions. It was like, try this, rather, you, you're doing it wrong. No, so there was a program many years ago, it was called Try Another Way. So you're trying to teach somebody. So if they're, now this was for, moderately um, handicapped, mentally handicapped folks, and some physically handicapped, in that their job was to sort nuts and bolts, okay, screws. Companies would get boxes that were dumped out, and they, didn't want to take the time to sort them, but they'd give a nominal fee for some folks to sort them and put them in the right box. And then there's some, whatever it is. So you teach them here, this is the one you want. So if they pick the wrong one, you don't tell them, no, that's the wrong one, because that's speaking in the positive. You tell them, try another way, try another one, try a different one. Wait a minute. If they keep going for that, when you say, try another one, it's a different one, you know, rather than, no, that's not it. No, how come you keep getting the wrong one? No, can't you get it right? No, which is what most people would teach. right? So, but in this big lesson plan and a big movement with movies and the whole 9 yards and seminars, to try another way was actually an absolutely excellent way to teach. So if they're doing it the wrong way, you go, wait a minute, here, try this. And they would keep wanting to grease you. Wait a minute now, it's the one you need is over here. Well, what about then? And the kid or the adult or whoever it is, keeps wanting to go over here. You go, that's, you can say that's the wrong one. Try over here, but you don't tell them, no, that's the wrong one. No, stop it. No, why are you see that line of thinking and that kind of instruction is negative. So you stay away from that at all costs, even though they might be, smearing shit on the walls. You don't scream, don't stop, mean that, you just find another way of, like grab their hand, take the brush away, and go, let's do something else. Well, but I love taking my doo doo and painting the walls with it, Mama. Let's go paint something else and let's clean yourself up. You know, and if they don't really understand, or hey, Niall, how you doing? I haven't seen you in a while. Of course, I haven't seen myself in a while either. I'm stuck with a real psychopath. You're doing it. Yeah. You see, so in speaking in the positive and in teaching in the positive, and as a director, all the directors I worked with, they'd like, stop, no, you're doing it wrong, man, and don't do it that way, and don't get, and it was like, oh man, it's one thing to take a critique. It's another for somebody to always use a don't and no, and you can't do this, and you're not doing it right. And yeah, all right. So in my form of directing, I was like, hang on, wait, back up. Because if they're doing something wrong, then you want them to back up to where they started doing whatever it is that's wrong. So you go, hang on just a minute, back up to where you entered here. Now, you should make your crossing like this. So rather telling them no, they're doing it wrong, I would say, okay, stop. Yes, they were doing it wrong because I just stopped the rehearsal because you're doing it and wrong. But okay, stop. Back up. Your crossing should be not as far down right. Okay. You're just supposed to go to the edge of the couch. Okay. Now let's try this again. So, and I've had some directors that will literally curse you out because you crossed too far down right, or you didn't cross enough, or you didn't make the cross. And what's wrong with you? Can't you follow directions? And oh my God. So I've had a lot of experience with being directed by people who could not speak in the positive, to my being a director and using all of the negative things that I learned from other directors. And I chose to not do it that way. And I've had great effects with helping people who'd never been on stage. Actually, over the years, they might still be working with Tallahassee Little Theater. I'm not sure. But anyway, and Monticello, players. But the point is though, there were some people that if I just wouldn't want to be in a play bad enough that I would accept them as the director. I just wouldn't do it. No, they're too negative. I can't do it. So and I worked with this one director, and I had a bit part in it as well, but I also he allowed me um, to choreograph a couple of fight scenes by two women who had to roll around on the ground. And so, they were having trouble, and he just could not convey to these two women. So I said, Coach, if you'll let me, because I've worked with clowns way back when I was a kid. We learned tumbling. I have worked with other things, doing some punches and stuff like that, stage. And I said, I can show them how to have an all out and out brawl without getting hurt. And the audience will love it. Okay. Because it's all about upstage. So if you're going to hit somebody, you hit somebody. I'm the downstage person, and they still do it in movies and stuff to this day. So a side punch, and I've seen them where they miss the other actor, by this much, and because they take a swing. But if you take that angle a little bit, and the other guy that's seeing the punch coming, you would swear that he got hit. So it's just a matter of the person getting hit is upstage so that the audience, when you throw that punch, they're not sure if that you connected or not. And it's up to the person upstage to react to that punch and whatever. So, but anyway, so once the girls got it, they did very well and they didn't get hurt. Now they ended up having to wear knee pads, but I got to admit the stage is hard when you land on your knees. Good night, Pearl. Now we can see you're not hidden. New life. Never been a mod, so it wasn't me. David, good to see you. I was blocked for a while. You were blocked from here? This channel? I have never blocked. Way back when there was somebody that we blocked, and the only people that we've ever blocked have been the porn folks. You were blocked from here? Wow, that don't sound right. Yeah, I didn't do it. I don't know if I would know how to do it personally, and I don't think any of my mods did it. Often overcomplicated. There are three areas of communication: none, some, and all. But of course, there are three replies to that: some, none, or a bunch of it. Right? No. But anyway, so a lot of times, I learned from my actors, and they go, "Well, you looked mad," and I was like, "What do you mean I looked mad?" "Well, you came in and you were all kind of huffy and everything." And I was like, "Well, I got a lot of stuff on my mind. And, we were supposed to have costumes come in and they ain't here yet. And I'm sorry, but y'all don't look at me." "Well, what do you mean? You know, you think I'm mad or upset?" "Well, I'm the director of the show. I got a lot of stuff on my mind. And we're a week from opening, but I'm not mad at you guys. I'm really impressed." So, but so even though I hadn't said anything, but I'd be pacing back and forth in front of the stage while they were getting ready, and they would see my face. They'd see me sit down and look at something and go, "Son of a bitch. Okay, now what do I do?" Blah 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 blah. And this was before rehearsal, right? So they were watching me and my emotions, my facial expressions, listening to me talk to myself about stuff that may or may not have had anything to do with them. It probably had something to do with the play. But at the same time, but they were picking up on this, unbeknownst to me. So before I started the actual rehearsal, I had to "Okay, gang, everybody, let's all take a deep breath and let me clear this so you don't be seeing me worried about something. Let's start the rehearsal. Let's let, you know." So I changed out of whatever it was that was going on with, post production, or uh, it wouldn't be post, it'd be pre, wouldn't it? We're getting costumes and this and that and stuff, ticket sales or whatever. So I couldn't show that to the actors, even though it had nothing to do with them. But the idea, though, that they were watching me, so they were picking up on the director. They were picking, and it was setting their mood. So if I gave them a correction, or I was like, let's do this over again. Well, I wonder if he's mad at me. And I was like, y'all calm down. I'm not mad at you. Let's just do this over again, But they had picked up what they saw when they walked into the theater for rehearsal. They were picking up on my emotions, on my thingy, and it affected their performance. Okay. So I had to be very careful with that. Yeah. People who understand communications also need to understand manipulation. Sleight of hand. Yep. Oh, was it an earlier mod that hasn't been here in a while? No. Actually, Michelle, there are four. I said it and you put it in there. So, yep, that's what I was referring to. I know you did. I saw you do it. But anyway, so in the communication, so I want to go back to Nate, please, Michelle, because in this discussion about communication, so he's nonverbal, but does he communicate with his eyes? Does he communicate with gestures? If he's got to go to the bathroom, does he do something that says, does he do a little dance that lets you know he's got to go to the bathroom? What does he do? How does he communicate? I'm thirsty, for example. I'm sure he does, but I mean, but if it's nonverbal, then what is it? Oh, so he's in diapers, so he hasn't learned that part. Okay. I'm not being critical. I'm just trying to find out the parameters. The way things are going for me, I'll be in diapers soon. But so everything else, he is an alpha, and he takes us to everything he wants or brings it to us. Okay. So he does communicate. He's run this most, oh, he's run this roost since he was one. I'm glad you're back too. Had I known that you was blocked, I would have went, what? Because anyway, we'll leave it at that. Glad you're back. And sorry for the inconvenience. Okay. Um, and that's just weird, that you were blocked. But anyway, um, wow. So Michelle, how does he deal with no? So if he takes you to something and he wants it, but it's something that he shouldn't have, and you're like, no, how does he accept the no? Or does he? Or is he like, gonna have it, 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 gotta have it, gotta have it, gotta have it, and you give in? Is He doesn't get many no's. But is that because what he wants is okay to have, or it's because you give in to him having it? Be honest. This is one of them, 3-year-old kind of things. I want a cookie. No, you can't have one right now because it's almost dinner. Wait till after dinner. I want a cookie. No, you can't have one right now. Well, you can have one after dinner. I want a cookie. Wham, wham, wham. Okay, so in an instance like that, sometimes here's your freaking cookie just to shut them up. Now, I say that in that, so there are those times when it's like, I want this, but is the time appropriate? So, and does he understand that if you said, no, you can't have this cookie, it's almost dinner time? Does he understand that? Okay. He doesn't need something that actually I'm the boss. Okay. And the reason I ask that in the communication skills of things, you have to find out what they understand. Do they understand, you know, but when Nate throws a fit, it's unlike other 7-year-olds. So, yes, sometimes acquiesce because his life is so challenging. Oh, understood. Sometimes you just got to say, here's a sucker, and you shove it in their mouth. You know, here's a lollipop. Shut up, here's your nanny bing bing, and you know, you're trying to break kids from using their num num, their fooler, their little, anyway. So nanny num num, yeah, that's a good one. Here's your nanny num 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 num. David, I can ask you, how important is articulation with communication? Do you have to be a good talker, or does it come down to personality? I've known, now I say old black men, all right, with very much high respect, okay? Because I used to sit around and just love to listen to the old black men tell stories. Because and some old white men would sit around, but anyway, and I mean it with the utmost of respect. And so, what did you say? Personality. I would say the personality absolutely had something to do with it. And they weren't necessarily good talkers because they skipped around a lot. You know what I mean? And they'd get sidetracked easy. Like, remember that story we was talking about, how that time we all got together down there at the creek, and then remember that time when old Issa May come down there? Oh, she was a hot one, that Issa May. Remember how we all talked about her and how we all wanted to shook and jive, and boy, man, that Issa May, and Issa May had a sister, and off it goes for the subject, right? So now the topic has become Issa May, and now it's her sister when he's talking about how we got together at a picnic one time. Okay, just so you say a good talker, or well, they could talk, but not necessarily the story that they're trying to tell. Kind of went around the edges a lot sometimes, and then come back around. And the story itself was only about a minute long, and there might have been a punchline, that really wasn't funny, but they'd laugh anyway. But and sometimes it was hard to understood what they was talking about, you know. But in the communications, certain people, when they told a story, everybody just listened. And it wasn't necessarily that they were better or anything. So I would say that it was their personality that drew them, how he told the story, how his intent, his maybe it was his gestures, maybe it was his tone of voice. There are some people that told a story and they told a story like this, and they barely changed their tone of voice, and the story just, and Nell went to the store, and then she was attacked by a bear, and the bear chased her all the way back to the house. That's the end of the story, versus, there's this bear that chased Nell down the road. She was screaming and hollering, and so how you tell the story. So, um, and the emphasis or whatever. So, um, a good storyteller, or, I've been in storyteller conventions, and there are folks that say, Dave, you're one of the best. And I go, well, thank you. Because I listen to a lot of stories, and a bad storyteller loses my attention almost immediately. And it's just like, it's really, oh, but I'm a good storyteller. And I go, yeah. And I look around in the audience, and other people are like talking to each other and stuff. And I've been the storyteller on mic and walk around with big audiences. I mean, outside with, you know, grandstands full of people, and can see the people I'm talking to. When I'm telling the story, I talk to people in the audience. I make eye contact with people, and I draw the audience in. So people are like, man, that was a really good story you told. It was really crappy, but thank you. It was all in the telling of the story. The story was for shit. But how I told it, everybody was like, wow, that was great. But anyway, so back to uh, also depth with gastrointestinal, and he deals with a lot of pain at times. Understood. And Michelle, I'm not trying to put you on the spot with this. And maybe somebody else that's have has children, or maybe an adult, or I have a friend of mine I went to school with, and her son is, I mean, she's 69 or 70 because we're all the same age. So, and her son is like, you know, 55. You know, um, and she's had to deal with his autism the whole time. He still lives with her. Hey, he's a part of her life and all this other stuff. But you know, at the same time, it's sad because she can't ever really get away, and he's always got a mama. You know, which that's not necessarily bad. She's accepted it after all these years, and he's the navigator. He can remember stuff, and dates and times, and just unbelievable. And he's functional, you know but not functional enough to go out on his own, drive or anything like that. Maybe take a bus or something like that. But um you know menial tasks. But so with Nate, so with internal issues, that just sucks. So if he's hurting, or when he's hurting, can he convey to you um, that he is hurting? And if so, how does he do it? Is it like he holds his stomach? Does he look at you and is he crying? I have been in excruciating pain and not been able to communicate. He rages and gets violent. But see, that's how he communicates. Because I had actually a couple of clients that I worked with that when they were in that mood or mode or whatever of not feeling well, uh, Wade Swinson, he's probably dead now because he was older than me. He'd be close to 90 by now. That's good that he doesn't claw your faces. That we had to be very careful what we said around Wade. And there was a certain frown that he had. You could see his eyebrows, and there was a certain frown. It was almost like a scowl, but there was a certain frown that he had. And if he came in that day with that frown on his face, we all knew Wade's in one of his moods. And we'd all say, "Have you seen Wade this morning? Why?" And you'd just nod. You wouldn't say anything because didn't want to say anything around the clients, but you'd just nod. And if it was Wade and you said and you nodded, that was that silent communication. Like, oh, he's in one of his moods. We need to be very careful. And we, having gotten slugged by this man, he was very strong. He's about 6'1" and a farmhand. And he would pissed at me one day, and I was trying to get him just to calm down, and let's go outside and just be calm. And I happened to grab his elbow, and I mean just gently, like, "Here, Wade, let's go over here." And he just came around with the right hand and hit me and knocked me to the floor before I could say Nancy. And he was in a rage. But what we learned, having dealt with this type of behavior with him, "I don't feel good, Mr. No." "Okay, Wade, if you don't feel good, then next time before you slug me, tell me you don't feel good. That's all." Because he lived with a father that just slugged him. Okay. So, but at school around us is like, if you don't feel good, then come over and tell me, "Mr. No, I don't feel good." It's all right. And if you don't tell me, you can go tell Mr. Harry over there, or you can go tell Miss Johnson over there, and just tell her, say, "Miss Johnson, I don't feel very good today." And we'll know what you mean. Now, a lot of times it meant he had not had his phenobarbital and he was prone to seizures. So, and sometimes, and he wasn't smart enough to take his medicine on his own every day. And if his parents weren't on him or if he was in one of his moods, they just shoved him out the door and go to school, let them deal with it. That if we didn't know that his phenobarb level was low, he would have a rough day. So, anyway. Why do you do this channel? Communicate, company, both. This is a serious question. I'm here to have conversation now. Topics of discussion. And if you've been around me long enough to know, I was talking with Robert this evening and he's like, "Man, you talk about all kinds of stuff." And he said, "And you communicate to us." He said, "There are times but he can't stay up late. But he told me tonight, he said, I listen to some of your shows, on the way to work or later on or when I'm driving around or whatever like that." And I'm like, "Really?" And he goes, yeah. And he goes, you talk about all kinds of stuff, and my job here is to talk about stuff, is to communicate with people. And it's like, life is hard enough. But if you learn certain communication skills, if you can understand, that by changing a few words and how you speak, you can change how people react to you, because now you're speaking in, they don't know it, but you're speaking in the positive. And by speaking in the positive and by not using, you know, destructive words or don'ts and nots and everything and that kind of thing, then somehow they have picked up a resonance with you, and they're like, wow, this person ain't so hard to listen to, or whether or not I got anything to freaking say or not, maybe it's my tone of voice and how I present it, but no, I was Niles to, because I don't know if you know this, but I was communicated with by Mother Mary when I was 11 years old, and she told me in this vision outside in the clearing that she was going to ask me to do something when I got older, and that people were going to call me a liar and a blasphemer and all this kind of stuff. Now I was 11. So then over the years, and then I've had to deal with this on and off kind of, what is this? And then I guess about 10 years ago now, Um, she showed up in my house along with two other nuns, and said, "Okay, it's time. We want you to start talking about folk." And the main theme, sort of, is how to be spiritual without having to be religious. Because if and it's the Catholics believe this: if you ain't a Catholic, you ain't going to heaven. That's just, it's in their prayers. I believe in the Holy Catholic Church, the communion of saints, the forgiveness of sins, and life everlasting. Amen. That's in the Apostles' Creed. And I would never say that thing about that Catholics were the only ones kind of thing. I was just like, nah, this can't be right. So my visions of folks over the years have led me to be a communicator. Okay. And kicking and screaming. So, but now I've learned how to be a shaman. I'm still learning, I'm still in training, and how to communicate and listen to the universe. I do seem to have like a, it seems like the same folks, my spirit guides are the same ones, because a couple of years ago, things changed and I was like, I ain't listening none of what any of y'all say up there. Because I was getting false information. But so what am I doing here and why is this channel? It's funny because somebody asked Robert the same thing, and he goes, "Well, I'm here to, because I'm interested in all kinds of things, and I like to talk about them, and and tonight was story night, and on Fridays we do this, and so." But at the same time, for me, it is about the spiritual, but it's also about the common sense stuff too. It's like, there are folks who are so upset about certain things, and it's like, if y'all would quit listening to that shit, you wouldn't be upset. Number one, and number two, you're getting upset about something that you really shouldn't be upset about. Oh, well, this guy, and he said something at the award ceremony the other night, and can you believe in it? I'm like, I can't believe that you're upset about it, is what I can't believe. Well, can you believe what he said? And he did this. It doesn't matter. I want to know why you're so flippin' upset about it, and why your whole day is ruined because of somebody else's behavior that ain't got nothing to do with nothing. Divine appointment. Yes, absolutely. And you've heard me talk about it, but I denied it for a long time. I did my best with trying to commit suicide to avoid, this, you know. And then I realized, wait a minute, in the back of my mind, way back when I used to do radio as a job, I always wanted to be a late night radio host, like coast to coast or something. And people could call in and we could chat about stuff. And, I guess I could have a call in show because I got a landline. You could call me at the house. And we did it one time before with Brian Lunsford. And somebody else, I think, one time where I just sat the phone right here and we had a conversation. Um, the highest and best good for all humanity and inhabitants of Mother Earth. Yep. Years ago, my own spiritual calling before I started YouTube was to be a prayer warrior. Okay. So that not necessarily a Christian, God, Bible thumping kind of prayer warrior, but a prayer warrior nonetheless. In that, a friend of mine that we were born 2 days apart, and I don't know if Dale's still alive or not, but he and I had a very similar spiritual path. Um, and in that, he studied Baba Ram Dass and all these other spiritual leaders, and I mean, really studied them. Okay, and where I studied, but not in the same depth that he did. And I took heed because I was raised a Catholic and some of this stuff, and I was like, so I've been looking at religions, as Sister Helene explained to me. I need to look at all religions and take the good out of all the religions, and that's that's the journey. That's the spiritualism right there. It isn't about any one religion. It's about all of them. What does it mean? Well, all religions mostly preach love and kindness. All religions are basically, in their own weird kind of ways, are to become better spiritual beings, and to do our penance on this earth, and we'll go to a higher level one way or the other, right? I'm your Art Bell. Yeah, in a way. Yeah. Um, you know, and I wish I had the energy. I would do it more often all night. Just, come on and just sit and chat for hours. There is a reason I ask these things. I have a close friend who believes he may be a shaman. Okay. Now, I don't mean to put this person down, don't know him or whatever, but in my realm, everybody here is a shaman in training. Okay. Because they're seeking knowledge above the normal. Okay. We're having chats about communication, communication skills without words, communication with eye contact, and communication with literally our minds. You know, I mean, Michelle and I, along with some other folks, we've had some synchronicities at like, holy crap, it's kind of hard to disregard the fact that we are communicating on another level beyond speech and eye contact and whatever. We're speaking and communicating with each other on a spiritual, mental, universal kind of thing. That's why we're here. But I mean, yeah, I am. I'm here to talk about this because we have shared this amongst ourselves here in the chat and personally with each other and other people. We have experienced this amount of communication between us. Don't deny it. Not just to you, Niles, but in general. Don't deny it. We've all had a little bit of communication like that. We've all had a synchronicity. It's been months or maybe even a year ago or more. This is before the heart attack. Where it was 4 o'clock in the morning and I get on here and I'm rubbing my eyes and I'm like, they woke me up to get up here and get on because somebody needed to have a chat. And Chloe and a couple of people was like, "Oh man, we're so glad you logged on." It was 4 o'clock in the freaking morning. All right. I woke me up out of a whatever sleep it was to get on here and have a live stream. So now I use the word job and I'm just gonna stick with that because I can't my duty, that almost like, wait, let me get a handkerchief. I just dutied on myself. But a duty, it almost seems like an obligation. Well, in a way, it is an obligation. So for me, and I got a sign at the top of the driveway that says the Little Ochlockonee River Hermitage. So as a hermit, and in a true sense of being a hermit type um, monk, if you will, so that my days, especially now that I'm retired and 70 years old, I can devote to sending prayers out to the universe at my discretion all day long if I want to. And so if Chloe comes across my mind uh, for whatever reason, I send out a smile and a cosmic hug to Chloe. Or if Barry's on my mind, sometimes I'll call him and I go, "Man, I'm just thinking about you," you know. And so things like that happen all the time for me. But I've been practicing to tune in to those things. So I told Robert tonight, I said, he took over after Brian died, the Milky Way theme to try to talk and have different people come on, and that he was so inspired by Brian and what Brian did while he was alive and on the channel and the chats that Brian and I had. And, I think he said that he was my seventh subscriber, when he joined my show. And we became instant friends, just instantly. And there were certain things like the amount of LSD and certain drugs and things and partying and stuff that kind of put us on a level that that we just understood each other. We didn't have to talk about it much because it was just there. Remember that time remember we did a hit a yeah remember that at the concert we woke up a couple of days later. uh, oh, I missed something here. I missed something, what Joe said, but anyway. But so with this thing, but so he was inspired by a channel, and so much so that he wanted to try to follow and not copy, but follow in the footsteps of Brian, right? And oh, by the way, send some healing prayers to Brian's mama, Miss Brenda, for those of you who know who she is. She got an eye infection or something, and she's been a little out of sorts. And just send her some loving hugs and that she gets better. It's not life threatening, but it's a pain in the eyeball. But anyway, so Joe says one of my nonverbal communications is a big belch after a Van Friggin-tastic great taste in him. Yep, that too. But see, that's all in how we communicate. Um, You're worried about your friend? He claims he saw the devil, bat wings and red eyes, and he claimed he was covered in the Archangel Michael's armor to combat him. Uh, yeah, if you're going to bed, Job, sweet dreams, and love to have you on, and you know, anytime. Um, you know, Niles, I've had some folks say goodnight to the gals too, Joe. You better not be one of them. Whatever them is. But anyway, that they have got this thing about that they talk with Archangel Michael all the time, and that he is their personal um, guardian angel, and that they get all of this insight, and he is and yeah and it's been a long time. I haven't counted the years, but you know, Brian and I started before Brian did. Not a whole lot, but um, you know, the fact that we hooked up way back, I mean, I had like he was my seventh subscriber to my channel. You know, that's how far back that goes. Um, but anyway, in this so I've had people talk about, oh yeah, they follow me around, and yeah. Now, I I ain't gonna say that I met the devil, but I have seen some really bad entities with red eyes and wings of types and things. And whether or not it was the devil, I don't know. But now, I have as a source of mental mental and protection, but this that you I can remember way back when I was sure enough being chased by evil demons. I mean, there were folks who were literally casting spells and conjuring things to send my way. They were literally directing these evil things at me. So, having grown up a Catholic, and having seen all the statues of the archangels and they all got the shield. I mean, I graduated from Tampa Catholic, which is the Crusader, which has got a shield and a lance on a horse, you know. So, but as a natural, I would think that I would throw up my shield against, you know, against the evil. And I have pictured myself in a way, not necessarily to be an archangel, but and I do believe it's Tampa Catholic and all the Catholic upbringing, that I was in my armor. Okay, so if the evil was after me, I was armored up with my shield and my thing, but I never said that I was wearing a particular angel's armor. So as a visualization of protection, you know, so now I don't need all that clanky armor. It's more of I I want to say I graduated, maybe, in that my armor is nothing more than an energy shield around me. I don't need all that stinking clanky armor to put on, you know, or to visualize the armor itself. Or now I can see the shield, you know, to shield yourself from whatever's going on, you know, that kind of still stands. And to visualize a shield, okay. But to think that, you know, so it depends on how far this person is like trying to carry this visualization. So the way I just described it myself, so I have visualized myself in armor to protect myself against evil, but it wasn't Archangel Michael's stuff, you know, and I wasn't, but in my mind, yes, I am here to battle evil. I'm a prayer warrior. So what does that mean? If you say the word warrior, it must mean that you're going to war, right? But anyway, so a prayer warrior. So, but in that, rather than trying to defeat the evil, and here's this positive thought thing. So, as a hermit and as a monk, which I devote my time to prayer and to sending out good energy to people, especially in my later life. I got a lot of free time. So why not spend it on prayer? But I made this decision many, many years ago. So I just didn't come up with it. Now, until I started this channel, I had not considered myself a shaman by any stretch of the imagination, nor a medicine man. Now, I was studying to be a medicine man, and I have learned things to be a physician's assistant at best, versus a true medicine man. But unbeknownst to me, because of my understanding of the universe, there are things my medicine man told me. He said, "How did you know that, Dave?" And I said, "Spirit told me." "How did you know how to do that ceremony I just showed you, or that you just showed me?" "Spirit showed me." "Well, you were 95% correct." "What?" Now, this happened several times with my learning and teaching and everything, and my literally hands-on sitting right across from me, medicine man, teaching me these things for 9 months and going down in the woods and performing ceremonies and hands-on stuff. But I never considered myself a shaman until I started this um, channel. And then other folks started calling me a shaman. And then I rejected it at first, as some of you may remember. And I was like, but I had to take 10 steps back, not one or two, but 10 steps back and go, now, what does a shaman mean? Now, I thought about it from the shaman, a Tibetan shaman. I thought about it from a Buddhist shaman's kind of thing. I thought it from a shaman's, but mostly Native Americans, because I've been to so many powwows and met so many folks. And I thought to myself, I actually, whether or not I was consciously aware of it, I have, because I was going to study to become a priest, okay, Catholic priest. But over the years, I realized that I have been studying to be a shaman, not openly conscious of it, but with all of the religious studies, with all of the places that I've been, with all the people that I've spoke to, and being with nature, and have started the hermitage, and just because my whole life at some point has been with nature. I bought this place and I'm still homesteading the place. And so, you're that closeness that you have with that, and different wavelengths of thinking and so forth. And um But am I a true shaman? Well, I haven't learned how to walk through walls yet. I haven't learned how to physically put myself in another location, although I have astral projected and have been in at other places where, I have corroborated times and so forth and dates and etc. with the people. And so that, yes, I actually was there at their house and observed what they were doing. And yes, I have done it. Yes, I guess I can still do it. I just don't know of anybody that I can kind of sort of practice with, if you will, because I just don't want to show up at somebody's house. But and for me, it takes, if I've been to somebody's house and have been and sat in the living room and looked around, then I got a good picture. So if I come back to your house, I got that picture in my head because it's all for me, it's all about the pictures. So I can focus, use the picture, focus on what it looks like, and put myself there. I have done it many times over the years, but I cannot. What's that thing that what you call it does? The forward looking thingy. I can't do it. A light warrior. Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. But there are some of these folks that talk about light warriors, and I don't like where they're coming from. But anyway, he claims he is an angel of the Lord. He said that the shield and sword formed around him when he met the devil in a blue light. Wow. Here's my thing, Niles. Having had visions of Mother Mary a couple of times over my lifetime, and once right here in the house, having had conversations with White Dove that used to sit in the truck with me on my way to work, sometimes coming home, um, that it's hard for me to, like, somebody says, you know, um, I believe that we are all angels. But now, how far he wants to put this angel thing, I mean, it's like, I know the angels are watching out for me. I wouldn't be here. I mean, I spent 3 days in the swamp when I should have been dead. I have recovered and I know I've had divine intervention. Um, and I call them spirit guides. So to say that, you know, my choice of words, I've chosen to stay out of Christian terminology, although I believe in angels and so forth and have talked about them. But I discuss my spirit guides, which I think one of them is a true angel. Okay. And the other one, not quite sure, just an old entity, you know. Not necessarily a full-fledged angel in the business, but so it would be hard for me without like chatting with him, which I'd be happy to chat with or whatever. In that, listen, be careful. In if he's a religious zealot kind of angel, I would be worried too. A shaman is a go-between, a third party between this and that. Yeah, a go-between. Yeah, an interpreter. But see, one of the things that I've had, and I'm upfront with everybody. Look, this is not about a religion. You know, this is about spiritualism. All right. And Mother Mary, Catholic personage thingy, supposed to be the mother of Jesus, she tells me not to talk about religion. Okay. She gives me instructions to talk about spirituality without religion as my duty when I was 11 now, and I'm 70. So that's been a few years back. So for me to get other people to believe that this actually happened, I just have to trust in the universe. Y'all don't believe me? Okie dokie. But this is what actually has happened to me. And that is why I am here. They showed up in my house one day and said, "Get off your ass and go do this, Dave." And I'm like, "But I don't want to. What am I going to talk about? People going to think I'm crazy." And people early on, they actually used the word blaspheme. You are a blasphemer and you will go to hell. And Mother Mary had told me specifically, they will call you a blasphemer and will condemn you to hell. And I was like, some bitch, there is my own, nobody else knows it, but there's there's the prophecy for me that came true from the age of 11. Holy crap. So, how do you, for me, how do you give those kinds of things up? But for me, the word shaman seems to mean something different than these other folks that talk about shamans. Now, the shamans that I've talked with, there are folks that don't know that they're shamans. They are spiritual beings. They just radiate, they glow, there's something about them. And, you know, they're not into any kind of titles. That's why I always say I'm a shaman in training. Because to be one of these folks that I've met that I considered a shaman, oh, I got a ways to go. Maybe not as far now because I've understood so much more after all this time, but ignore the dollar. Oh yeah, by all stretches. But here, Niles, here would be my thing about the angel thing. If they're wrapped up in part of the angel thing, that this angel has appeared to them, and that and they're convinced it's this. Um, this is how I would approach it and say, we are all angels in the eyes of God. And we are. We're supposed to, we're made in the image and likeness of God, as it says in the Bible, if you follow that. So, and each one of us are angels in our own way. Hey, Alex, how are you? I'll have one just for the ganja man. So I, for a long time, and I still, there are times my spirit guides up there going, we know what you're going to say, Dave. But that I reject the term for myself that I am a shaman. But yeah, I know I hear him screaming up there. Listen here, we've been through this before. Yeah, okay, guys, all right. But I understand though that because I am seeking my own spiritualness, and in all of this, and also by being kicked in the butt with other entities, kind of thing, that to have this conversation with people, how can you be with the Lord all the time? How can you be in prayer all the time? How can you, and here's the thing, you can do it. Because back when I was studying and was going to become a Catholic priest, I was like, how do you do this? And it was like, well, it's a certain level of mental awareness thingy. Well, I'm happy you got through too. So, in trying to hear what you're talking about, Niles, how Christian is this? I am an angel, I am a thing, because, I look at my earlier videos and I'll talk about how I am a warrior for Christ. I am a prayer warrior. I went out on the ground and laid prostrate on the ground and gave my soul up and said, I'm here. If I ain't working for any evil entities, and but I ain't going to no church, because my church is right outside this window, um, or that window, or out the back door. But anyway, um, but the idea that I have to have a religion to be spiritual, as for me, for a long time, just been nonsense. But in to become a shaman that I did not know I was becoming, but that it's all about how spiritual. It's about how you've used your life to achieve a certain amount of wisdom. And can you take some of this wisdom and have conversations like I'm having right now with people and say, listen, every single one of us is a shaman in training, because if we're trying to better our lives and if we're trying to be more spiritual in some way, shape, or form, even if you are religious, it's okay. But there are those religious folks that I have met that swear, no, it's an angel. No, it's Michael. Every time it are you sure it's Michael? Well, he says he is. Well, what kind of stuff does he tell you? What kind of direction are you getting here? Oh, well, this and that and that and this, and it's like, okay, you know, um, and you gotta have Jesus in your heart. All right, now back down a little bit, and you gotta have, you gotta be baptized in the Lamb, and okay, all right. So I see where you're headed with that. It's all about the blood of Jesus. No, it ain't. No, it ain't. I recognize it, I see it, but no, it ain't. I don't want to be covered in blood. Sorry about that. And I don't want to eat a wafer that's supposed to be his body neither. I ain't no goddamn cannibal, okay? So anybody who's taking the body of Christ and gnawing on it, I'm sorry, but you're a cannibal. Get over it, stop doing it, you know? And to think that it's some kind of special thing with you Catholics and all to want to do it. No, I'm sorry. Jesus don't want to get chewed on every time there's a Catholic mass. I'm just saying, all right? It wasn't meant for that. The If anybody has seen Dante's recent videos within the last 7 days about the twin sisters, there was one of the videos. I just caught up on them today. I didn't even know they were there, and I'm subscribed. But it was about the church and how the Flash have been in charge of the church for a long time, which is not the folks you really want to be, you know. So here is a kind of sort of reptilian kind of, we eat babies, your babies anyway, with a little hollandaise sauce. Okay. Salt and pepper and a little paprika, you know. But since the 7th century, okay, as they were portraying, in that the Vlash have been in charge of basically the Christian church. So all these things that you got to believe in the church or you ain't going, and you got to belong to the this or you ain't. You got to do this or you ain't. Just the whole ballyhoo, right? But in the native traditions, the creator is there. Oh, look at you. Our creator is all loving and then therefore requires nothing in return. Actually, there is a return, but it ain't worship. It's the passing it on to other people. It's the sharing. So the creator does expect something in return, and that's us sharing the love. That's the return. It's the sharing. Just, yeah, rules are a man-made construct. But to the universe, so when you are aware of the source, then you give energy to the source. It's not expected. You just do it without thinking about it. It becomes second nature. It is who you are. And to me, that's what a shaman is. You just do these things with the universe without thinking about it, without asking for anything in return. You just do it because it's the natural thing we do. We both said we are all on a shamanic journey at the same time. Yep, the hero's journey. That was brought up the other day and again today, and I think it might have been one of the videos that Dante did about being a hero. And it's like, what is a hero? Is a hero somebody that stops a bus, or is a hero somebody that you know kills an evil person? You know, um, I'm sorry, I got a song running through my head. The man who shot Liberty Valance. Anyway, um, would it be possible to speak to you on Facebook Messenger? Not on Facebook. No, no. We can talk on the telephone. Um, I don't. I don't do much chat. I don't do Facebook much. I'd rather just have a conversation. So, and I'm listed in the phone book in Moultrie, Georgia. I'm not hard to find, especially my landline. And I don't give out my cell phone to many folk. But yeah, we can chat. I don't do the typing thing well. I just don't. I hate this laptop. If I had a regular keyboard, it wouldn't be so bad. But I hate this laptop, and leaning over it is not ergonomic for me. And there used to be a video chat thing. I would video chat with you. If there's a Bonnie Tyler. We don't need another hero. We don't need to know the way. Um, um, oh, come on. Different song. Yeah, I know, but I had that song going through my head. We had hero songs running. They were just different ones. Thank you very much. I couldn't remember her name at the moment. Tina Turner. Come on, baby, shake that thing. Woo. Anyway, Tina Turner. One hell of a performer. I've not seen her in performance live, but I've seen her performances, and I can just imagine um, what her performances would have been like. But yeah, Niles. So Niles, if you got a pencil, um, my phone number starts out with 229 area code. And the first three digits for this area is 941. Now you got to hunt and look for the rest of it. But there's the first six digits. So, and if you call me, tell me who you are. I do have email, but that's hard to chat through email. Um, yeah, I like the phone as a. I've always been auditory. Do you believe that good and evil have a sort of cosmic deal? That is not my email address, Michelle. The at part is wrong. I've never had a Hotmail account. Mine is Gmail. Do I believe that good and evil have a sort of cosmic deal? No, but yes. The no is that it's not that it's a deal. And I did a video not too long ago about this too, where I discussed this, but if you couldn't get in, then you didn't see the video. But go back and look if you want. But I discussed in there about evil. Evil's never going to go away. Never. Why? Because of light and dark, yin and yang. It's got to be there. No matter how much I have prayed against evil, that it would go away and not be there, the practicality of the matter is that it must exist in order for good to exist. I don't like evil. I don't appreciate it. I like bad behavior. I've been around evil people. I don't like it. That's why I chose to be a prayer warrior. So I can't stop it. There are entities on the other side of this universe who are just, we consider them evil, but it's their normal way of life. Consider that. Consider being a Klingon, for example. Just be a Klingon for a minute, you know? And there where everything is about this and the war and the killing and the battle and how many people you, how many houses, how many heads you can lop off, you know? But we've had those kinds of incidents called the Vikings, you know. Um, well, and there were some samurai folks in China that were brutal, you know, Genghis Khan and or Genghis, as some folks, or I've heard it pronounced now, is like Genghis Khan. Just doesn't seem quite right, but okay. Yeah, I tried to use StreamYard and something happened, but it was way back when. And I used to do 3D AutoCAD. I used to teach it, okay, and as an engineer. And now I could still do AutoCAD, but as far as being able to work around computer programs and some of these things, and some setting up some of these live streams, and I'm an idiot. A monkey could do better. I read the instructions, they tell me to do this thing, and it don't work, and then it's like it's all my fault. Well, it could be somebody else's fault, but you know. So I have tried to, I would love to do live stream where I could share the screen with you and show pictures. I really want to, maybe I could do it with Robert as a show one night, but go over the pictographs and the in Ohio where I was at um, the petroglyphs in Ohio near Chillicothe. And I would love to share some of those pictures that I took and discuss them because there's one that kind of sort of looks like a space band to me. And these things are supposed to be e- caveman old kind of thing. And that's the night where I took pictures of the blue orbs, and I would love to share those pictures with y'all. You know, I got them on my hard drive right down there, and plug it in and share them and show these things because some of these things I absolutely do have proof, but I don't know how to show. I don't know how to share them with you. You know, with the computer, I can put them up on. You know, anyway. So maybe I need to. But if I had a little bit of technical help, I would invite other people on, you know, if they wanted to, like using Zoom. I've not had any luck with doing Zoom either. So do you want about the deal I'm making? Kate Bush now in my head. Oh, you want me to send Nell a private message with your number? Yeah, that's okay with me. I mean, I've put it in the chat before, and I am listed in the Moultrie directory. Moultrie, Georgia. Look it up. I'm listed as David Knowles, Iron Grove Church Road. It ain't been much of a mystery. But I do get a lot of crank calls that I just won't answer the phone. So if you got my email, which is dwnull52, lowercase at Gmail, um, that's a real easy one. Send me an email and say, and give me your number, because mine's in the phone book, so that when I see your phone call, I will answer it. Because otherwise, if I don't know, and if I don't answer it, leave a message, as some people won't. And it's like, then I ain't going to call you back. You know, sorry about that. You know, well, I called you. Did you leave a message? Well, no, I'm not too much in leaving a message. Well, look, say, hi, this is Niles from the, internet. And um, just wanted to say hi. Okay, I'll call you back. You know what I mean? Yeah, anyway. And one of the things too, though, that I've realized as a shaman, and I realized this I was talking in one of the shows where a, 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 a decent friend of mine, I knew him, we weren't chummies, but, we got along. And had seen each other's at different events and things because I knew his daughter and anyway, but he was a preacher. And he had told me, I asked him one time, I said, what, you know, um, how'd you become a preacher? And he said, for the money. I needed a job and it was there. And, but he never overcharged people. And him and his wife worked other odd jobs and stuff. And he didn't have a permanent church. And he was a sort of a floating minister. And he did baptisms for folks and weddings and funerals. And he went and to the hospital and consoled folks and things, and he was genuine, but he was also honest. He said, I needed a job, and he said, I couldn't think of anything better than to be a preacher because then I could go out and help people. He said, and I can make $100 at a funeral, or at a funeral, or at a or at a wedding. Where are you going? And back in them days, it was in the 80s. Wait, yeah, yeah, early 80s. And he said, where am I going to make $100 in a day legally? You know, and doing part-time work, doing something I like. And he goes, marrying people, sometimes you get little gifts and people, and you get to eat cake and blah, blah, blah. So, but anyway, but I thought now that was interesting because he was honest. We got 1 minute, y'all. It's 3:20. Uh, have him set up a Facebook. I got a Facebook account and I won't use it now. Nope, I won't do it. No offense. This computer and Facebook do not work. I'm having trouble with YouTube right now. It's lagging really bad. I don't know if you can see it. But sorry, Niles. And nope, no Facebook. Nope. Cheers right back at you. Oh, I'm stiff. I've been doing this now since 10 o'clock and it's 3:20. 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 5 hours. Yeah, I'm getting sore, but that's okay. I need to get up and move around a bit, but I'm not trying to be rude now, it's honest, but I just don't do the messenger thing anymore. There used to be a Google something where a Google chat, and I used to use that, but they discontinued that. If there's something other than Facebook, I, I'll try that, but you know, I also have a phone, and I have for me, I have it. I don't know how phones work these days, but for me, I have unlimited calls anywhere in the continental United States. I can call Alaska and talk for days, and it's the same price. So there is no where back in the day there used to be, if I called New York and talked for so long, it cost me so much money. Well, now it isn't like that for me at least. And I do have my cell phone, but I'd rather use the landline because it's always a good clear thing. And I've got my phone that I can walk around in the yard a little bit and around, so I do have freedom of movement with my house phone. Although the battery will die um, um, for my recharger thingy, but to that point though, the communication is like I'd rather just. I guess I'm old school. I'd rather just do the phone. I got a screenshot with 222 22%. How about now? Again, if Google had a something, I just don't do Facebook or MSN Messenger. I just don't do either one of them. If we could try something else, okay, I'd be willing. And I tried Rumble, and I can't remember why I couldn't get it to work, but it just didn't work. Couldn't get it to work. I tried and went back through and I gave up and said, fuck this. I don't need this heartache. Somebody wants to talk to me, they can call me on the phone. But anyway, so Michelle, I want to follow up on a question or two. Now it's got me a little sidetracked from the rest of the conversation, but so with Nate, um, he will take you to what he wants or, so to let you know what's going on. That's a good thing. So, are there any nuances? I'm trying to put, like, does it give you facial expressions? What is his body language? There are some autistic folk who are very wooden and very robotic. And so they come with me, come over here, or the antithesis of robotic. So he's very so his facial expressions are in a nope, I haven't changed anything. There's definitely a lag because there are times when it literally jumps across the screen, me watching it. So could be that the audio is messed up on your end there, Niles. So, but anyway, I'm gonna wrap this up. But um, and Michelle, I'm sure that you have a connection with your son. All right. And so that connection with your son is that special connection that when you connect with a person and you go, wow, we really connected, that connection, that spiritual, that angel connection, that universal. So in our communication, I think that we should. Now, I just do naturally because I've been practicing this for quite some time now. But for other people, they got to actually practice it. I had to practice, and I'm still practicing as a practicing shaman or a practicing person who's trying to continue to better my skills as a communicator, to pick topics of discussion. Because if you look, for my videos, it's under the heading of education, not something else. It could be entertainment or this or that, but no, because um, I'm I am here to be an educator because even as a shaman in training, one of the things that you realize is that the next step in becoming a shaman is that you must share the wisdom that you have accumulated. And you do it in such a way that, there are certain things that I'm sorry, I won't be belligerent about it, but if you push me, I will. I mean, there are folks who have in the past who have, when I say I am a prayer warrior for Christ, and I mean it. But I am not one of these Christian Bible thumpers. I ain't. But I will defend that, statement in my prayers, where some Christians, and that's why I was called a blasphemer, in that how can I be a prayer warrior for Christ if I don't go to church? That can't be. It just that can't exist. Well, it does. And there are other people out there who are very much the same way. So, and there are many Native Americans, as I've spoken about before, at powwows, many of the powwows I've been to, and big powwows too, they will have a Christian prayer every time. All right. But then they'll have a Native prayer because they understand, get this, and I've talked about this before, it'll piss people off, but in a Native way, the God of the Christian is God, no problem, but he works for the Creator. Think about that one. Now you say, well, that can't be. But in Revelations, it states it towards the end that you can go and sit up in with God and the elders. What? Wait, God's got a bunch of elders he's sitting with, Well, wait a minute. So I thought it was just God up there. No, it's God and the elders. Oh, so it's not just one person. So, oh, well, wait a minute now. I thought he was the supreme being, blah, blah, blah. Wait. But in Revelations, in the end of the book, it clearly states in two different places that, you can go sit up there with God and the elders. Okay. Well, that's a whole different kind of thing. So there's a group of them then, huh? Not just one. Oh, well, in a way that changes my thought pattern and my of thinking on this. So, but so if that's true, that's God sitting with the elders up there, or the other beings, or whatever, that he could be working for the Creator because there's a big universe out there. This is just one solar system. So God created us in this place, and he's the overseer kind of thing. He's the CEO of this solar system. But every solar system's got its own, wait a minute, and they all report to the creator. Wait a minute now could that really be so far-fetched in the universe with all these billions of planets? Why not? You know. So the God of the Bible, he's just a flunky for the creator, you know. And there are some folks who would kind of go, yeah, that's about right. I hope to speak to David and he will be amazed when he hears my voice on the phone, free of charge with Facebook. I ain't doing Facebook. You ain't talking me into it. A couple of years ago, every time I logged onto Facebook, it cut out. I'd try to post something, the computer would hang up, and I mean with two different computers. And has had my number for a long time. When I was being political and stuff several years ago and posting things and being really radical and but when I try to log on to Facebook, it will not work for me. It will not work. Period. I try to go up and scroll up and down, it'll hang up and shut my computer off. It literally does not work for me. And I'm not going to mess with it. It's not worth my time and aggravation. Well, maybe it's a this, don't care. Don't care. It could be a setting, don't care. If every time I log on to Facebook it does this, don't care. And I've had two different computers and it's done the same thing. This computer ain't even mine. It was given to me. It left here, and it won't let me log on. So it could be my IP address. That's what I think in my conspiracy thinking of stuff. It's my IP address. When Facebook sees my IP address, no, and I don't go many other places. So If you've got something other than Facebook or MSN, okay. But anyway, so there are many ways of communication, and one of the things in reading a couple of things and watching a program or two, they're talking about folks connecting with the universe. And I'm gonna close with my prayers as I always do, because there are many answers and stuff in the universe. There are many solutions to problems in the universe. And I was talking with my friend today, just a few hours earlier from here, and I told him, I said, I found these feathers the other day by listening to my inner self. And there are other things that I've done, that when you listen to that shown up intuition, and this happens. Go ahead now, suggest something. Go ahead. If it's got to do with Facebook, forget it. I ain't gonna pay attention. No offense. So, but I do continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many, many gifts from the universe. And, it takes practice. I'm still practicing, whether I'm a shaman in training or not, as far as just a person in the universe, I'm still learning. And there are many things out there in the universe to be learned, to be experienced. And even at my age, you're welcome, Chloe. At my age, there are still adventures for me still to have. And I'm looking forward to them, no matter how they come. I planted 2 new fruit trees, yesterday. Is that right? Yeah, yesterday. And I'm looking forward to those trees taking root and growing. We'll be learning and practicing to our last breath. Yeah, pretty much. Yep, I would agree with that, Michelle. Because the next step from this life is going, that carry over to the next life. And in many situations, even in that in the Apostles' Creed, where it says, the Holy Catholic Church, the communion of saints, the forgiveness of sins, and life everlasting. Amen. So, what is the life everlasting? Well, Dante has suggested or stated, I would be more, in that our reincarnation is true, and our life everlasting is the fact that we are reincarnated persons. That's our life everlasting. Address we can speak through Zoom or whatever. Okay, I would go with Zoom. Or maybe I could do it with the computer in Zoom. I'm good for that, you know, just not Facebook or MSN. Um, can't do it. Better off I won't do it. In a way, we are eternal and we are immortal. So for the Native Americans to lead a good shaman journey, to follow the red road, to be a good person means that in the next life you'll remember some of this life. And so, what is my purpose in this life? It's to do as good as I can do. So, it's not necessarily, I have thought about this as like scoring points. No, I don't really want to score points, but if I was studying for a test, I would want to know as much as I can before I get to the next level. Now, I gave you my email address twice, and Michelle posted it. neither created nor destroyed. Um, I've listened to somebody else that has, we have a similar feeling about the spirit and the soul, but we both see them as two different things. So for me, the soul is what gets carried on from time to time. Our spirit is that which I have right now. It's my current spirit. It's the spirit I have in this body. Now, that spirit doesn't necessarily go away. I would say that it kind of sort of gets absorbed by the soul. So I've had many spirit bodies over the years, but I only have one soul, if that makes sense. So that's my interpretation of it. All right, in this higher energy level thing. So the soul goes on forever. The spirit is what's contained in the moment of reincarnation, whatever that reincarnation is, the spirit that becomes us. That years ago I could have very easily, if had gone that way, to have gone down the witchcraft thing and doing spells, and I knew some folks too. And I was like, no, this ain't it. No, don't want to be here. This is not my gig. And so thank goodness I did not go down that alley. So, but I can speak to it. I can speak to seeing, demons with red eyes. I've seen other beings with red eyes that not quite sure that they were demons. And I was warned to not consider them as demons by a medicine man of all things. And I was like, and it was like, listen, everything that's dark and has red eyes does not necessarily mean they're demons. There are entities that, to see in the dark is like infrared. And if you can see their eyes, that means you're seeing in a different wavelength. Then that don't mean that they're evil. And I was like, oh, holy shit. Had never thought about that, because of all the horror movies and the red eyes are always demons. And that ain't necessarily true, you know. So, but anyway, that's a whole nother story there. But um, the understanding that there are many types of entities on Earth and in the universe. That's just a for sure. And we are a part of this universe just like they are. So, as I stated earlier, we'll never get rid of evil. We might be able to calm it down, and evil might be pickpocketing versus murder. Which would you rather have? Well, pickpocketing and stealing is not a good thing, right? It's still, taking somebody out. Yeah, but it ain't murder. Which would you rather have? Okay, I'll take the stealing. You know what I mean? So, but it's still not good. So, levels of good, levels of evil. How evil is this? Well, there are people who are manipulating other people and who are lying and cheating. And, well, that's kind of evil. But, some of these folks, yeah, but what are they getting out of it? Now, if there are people getting hurt because of the deeds of politicians or people or whatever, that's another level of evil. If they're just in it for the money and are greedy, well, that ain't good. It's still on the evil scale, but ain't nobody died from what they did. Now you say, well, Dave, Hawkeye, that seems, kind of, well, but in the grand scheme of things, there is another level to that, you know, in the evil business. There are people who wouldn't mind, throwing somebody out on the street because they ain't paid the rent, but they wouldn't kill them. I mean, even though them, I've known some landlords, okay, well, they didn't pay their rent for 2 months, so out they go. Yeah, but the guy lost his job and his wife is sick, and and they're trying to keep up, but they evict him anyway. So, but did they kill these people? Well, it really hurt them. People had to find another house. They had to do this. I mean, and the I'm thinking of one particular group. I was a maintenance man for 150 properties. Okay, so there were a lot of folks that I came in contact with on a daily basis because that was my job. But anyway, so there were some people that they mismanaged their money and were late with their rent. But then there were people who were really at hard times. And so if you're a landlord, you need the rent. You got to pay the taxes on it. You got to pay on some of these properties. There was a mortgage on them. So they actually, were waiting on the rent money to pay the mortgage on the property. So it's like, well, okie doke. Um, I can see where, somebody's later on their rent. You got to get somebody that pays. You got to have that money because you got to make your payment to the bank. Well, then you shouldn't have 50 properties. And the one guy actually got arrested by the FBI because they were doing bad bank deals here in around Thomasville. It was a big deal. SBC and a couple of banks loaning money to the folks that didn't have any collateral and stuff. Yeah, it was a big deal. Had the FBI talk to me one day. It was all kind of creepy. And I was a maintenance man for the properties. But anyway, so and now, what is your involvement in all this, Mister Noel? I'm the maintenance man for these properties, and that's as far as that questioning went. But anyway, so um, the levels of evil. So, how evil does somebody want to be to accept or whatever? Somebody that does spells and stuff like that, to me, is someone who, wants to command the universe to give them something. And, from a shaman, no, it's always about giving to the universe. It's not about taking, it's always about giving something to the universe, giving prayers, giving offerings, doing a dance, doing a drum, lighting sage, giving an offering, just it's giving to the universe. If someone is sick, then you give them your time. And that's what I was going to state earlier, that there are times when, one of the things I had to learn to accept was that, you know, um, there are times when you just need to be able to give up your time for other people. And sometimes it's inconvenient as hell, you know. But at the same time, if you are a true shaman, then you will accept that. It's like, well, I really don't want to talk to this person right now, but okie doke, you know. If they need help or getting on at 4 o'clock in the morning when Chloe needs somebody to chat with, or it's something that you just in talking with some other folks, it's something you kind of have to sort of accept or get out, you know. But for me, it's about being personable. For me, it's about helping other people to achieve a spiritual state of mind and a physical state of mind and a confident state of mind without being egotistical and without ego being in there all the time. So anyway, it's 3:30 in the morning. Three what? It's almost 4 o'clock. I've been on for 3 hours and 34 minutes, and I was on for 2 hours with Robert. So it's 5 hours tonight for me up to this point. So I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings that are just floating out there in the universe, you know. And in that law of three, because this is the third time I've said the prayer, I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and yes, the many blessings out there in the universe. So have faith, my friends, my brothers and sisters. Believe, 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 believe. And believe in the power of wean. So I love you all. Thank you, Michelle. I don't know if this chat helped you in any way. It did help me to understand Nate a little better. And I've got some other, I'm going to mull over what we chit chatted about, but I'm may have some suggestions, but we'll chat it another time. You are very much welcome, and cosmic hugs, my dear friends. And until next time, please, y'all stay healthy. And, we talk about paying it forward. Just do what you need to do, and it may be paying it forward. But for those folks who always say, well, I'm paying it forward, if you have to say you're paying it forward, are you really? Because it seems like you're expecting something. Well, I paid it forward. Okay. Can you just do a good deed and not have to, I paid it forward? Anyway, so we just do the right thing, and it is paying it forward, but we don't have to say it every time like some folks seem to be. They need to say it. I'm paying it forward. Okie dokie. Look, everybody, I'm paying it forward. Okay. That's about ego. So, but anyway, I love you much. All right. And stay safe. Okay. Cheers, everybody. I love you and be safe. Keep it between the ditches. All right. And stay warm.